Hello and welcome to another episode of Chats with Chelsi. I'm thrilled you've joined me today. Today we're talking with a woman who is a woman of many passions, and I can relate because I have so many dreams, passions, and goals. Yet she has uniquely been able to pursue her passions and be successful at it. So tune in, get ready, get your notepad ready. Let's listen in. I ever do that? Hello and welcome to another episode of Chats with Chelsi. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm so excited because today's episode is for you and me. Today we're talking with a woman who has many passions, and I can totally relate. As a woman of many passions, ideas, and dreams, and things I want to do. Yet what makes today's guest successful is that she has been uniquely successful at pursuing her passions. So let's get ready, get your notepad, let's tune in. Today I have the Director of Family Engagement for the Peter Paul Development Center here in the East End in Richmond. She is the co-founder of the Artisan Cafe. She is on the boards of the RVA Symphony, Art 180. She is on a board for the Junior League of Richmond, which I'm a part of. And she is the co-founder of the newest, hottest event here in Richmond, Richmond Nights Market. Ladies, join me in welcoming Adrienne Cole Johnson.
That is so sweet. I need to carry you with me for that introduction.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It is so great we ran into each other, your big night.
Yes.
Awesome crowd,
yes,
engagement. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was amazing. It was amazing. And so Chelsi's talking about the Richmond Night Market. We had communicated before, and I had heard of you and the blog as well. But the night market was amazing. So it's every month. We're getting ready for May now, and it was a lot of love and community there. So glad to meet you in person there and to sit down with you today.
Well, I am ecstatic to have you. So let's do a little background, Adrienne.
Yes.
Tell us where you're from. You have a master's in social work. Just give us some insights in your background before we dive into all your black girl magic.
Oh, wow. I always tell people I have like 9 lives, right? Because my journey has been vast and broad, but I know that it all comes together, and I feel like I'm at that point. So born and raised here in Richmond. I'm a South Side girl, born and raised, and so went to Broad Rock and Thompson and Huguenot for my schooling, and really had spent a lot of time here. My parents are both from the Carolinas and have moved here, and family settled here for a while. And so after graduation from high school, I just found myself moving about. So first spot was Norfolk, Virginia, where I went to ODU for undergrad. Go Monarch. So I did that, and then I found myself in Ithaca, New York, up north.
Oh wow.
Where I was going just for the summer and ended up staying about a little over a year as a residence hall director. So I worked at Cornell and really enjoyed this student life, student affairs world, and thought that I would stay there. But during that time, I just had some time to explore and figure out what are my passions. And what really bubbled up for me was I had a heart for the community and also black people, people of color. How are we doing in the world? And so that's what led me to social work, but more macro social work. And it also led me to St. Louis. So I went out to WashU in St. Louis for my social work program, because they had a really good macro focus. And so it was all about community, social and economic development, how do we work with each other to build better opportunities in communities. And so had a great time there. Didn't last long, came back to Richmond because I was missing the East Coast so badly. And so I did my final practicum here. And I was at an organization's New Visions, New Ventures. Dr. Ann Moss was the executive director, and she gave me an opportunity to work there with some amazing women. And I really managed our individual development accounts, which was an asset-based approach to social welfare, basically. So women were able to save in a matchings program from entrepreneurship, home ownership, and what was the other one? Starting your own business, actually. And so I love the work. I enjoyed it, and then I got a phone call one day from a friend from St. Louis who said, hey, I'm coming to D.C. I'm going to be working with Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney for a while. And so I said, oh, exciting. I said, D.C.'s right up the street. Call me sometime. I always get to D.C. and let me know if y'all are hiring. So So he called me in about a week. He said, okay, we're hiring. And so I went up for an interview, and I interviewed. They offered me the job on the spot, and I think I was in D.C. in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so I went to D.C. to work on the Hill with a black Congresswoman, Cynthia McKinney, amazing woman. Mm-hmm. One of my most impactful mentors, for sure. Wow. She was an elected official, but she was very much an activist in her heart. Mm-hmm. And she showed us that you can do things in a different way and be brave and courageous and still get things done. And so I came in as a staff assistant, so front office.
Right.
And I left out as a chief of staff. So and within 2 years, 2 years. So it was magical, it was intense, but I learned a lot. And that's the time in my life where I think a lot of things just came full circle for me. And I realized I had all the tools. God gave me all the tools I needed. And I had the courage to be who I was destined to be, right? And so that's when I first started my business. That's when I said, you know what, I've done a lot of things for a lot of people in different arenas. So I started a virtual assistant business because what was missing was I was working so much. Mm-hmm. Kind of a workaholic at the core, right? Like I like to stay busy and I like to see things done a certain way. But I said, man, the lifestyle though, I really, I wasn't married. I didn't have any children. And I said, I really need to get in front of this lifestyle so that when that comes, I'm able to maintain and do some things that I enjoy doing. And so I started as a virtual assistant, was in DC for a few years, and so was loving DC. But actually came back home. So, coming back to Richmond a little over 10 years ago was kind of like that full circle moment. Mm-hmm. So I came back because my father had transitioned. My dad had passed away. My parents had been married for longer than they had been not together, And just we couldn't see my mom being alone, living by herself. So my thought was I'll come home for about a year. Maybe, just to be closer to mom and kind of cushion that process for her and for myself also.
Right.
And as I mentioned, that was 10 years ago. So I've been back, I've always been in business. Virtual Self had evolved, and we'll get into some of that with the night market and Artisan Cafe. I've landed myself an amazing job, an amazing work family at Peter Paul. And I know I'm right where I'm supposed to be, but it was a journey. Wow. It was a journey to get here, but I know I'm in the right place.
Well, that's a powerful statement to know that you are where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. I think what's also powerful so far as we've been chatting, Adrienne, is the fact that it's been a journey. Yes. And that you needed some different tools in your toolkit to get you where you are.
Absolutely.
And I think that is so important, especially for young women. And I say something about social media about every episode because I love social media, probably sometimes addicted to it. Mm-hmm. Yet I also sometimes see the danger when young women see themselves through someone else's life, but they see the glory, but they don't know the story.
Yes. And you need to write that down.
All that you went through. Yeah. You just didn't come out the room. You went through some things to get where you are, and so I just love that you can sit here and say, I know where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the different ventures you have. Tell us about those.
Yeah. Well, so currently, woman of many things. Richmond Night Market is the largest. Like it's consuming a big place in my heart because it's the baby, right? Right. And so what it is, it's a monthly social. It's a social shopping experience right in the heart of Shackled Bottom. And so where the second Saturdays, 5 to 10 p.m., 7th Street Market, we bring out at least 40 amazing artisans who are sharing their works with the world. We wanted a lot of people to show up, but we were at about 2,000 people with the footprint that came out for the first one in April. So an overwhelming amount of love and support there, and speaking with artists, and some of them their first time, showing their wares. Some of them had been used to it, and so that level of excitement that they get just going through the process is it's humbling, and it's grateful to be in, you're grateful to be in that space with them. And so we just really create the platform for artists to kind of thrive and shine. But we also have a live music element. So we had a DJ, we had a live band, so that will be consistent. We had a maker space where we featured Hamilton Glass. He'll be back with us in May. And that was really nice to kind of see one of our local celebrity, really, you know, when you look at muralists in the area, so to see him live doing his work. And then we had a creative kids hangout area, and the young children were owning the space the entire time. So we wanted it to be family friendly, but we had so many families to come out and so many young people, and so they had a good time. I think we had Nerd Squad there, and we had Studio 23 there too. They were hula hooping and blowing bubbles, and so it was just a good time. So that brings me a lot of joy. So that's one. Woo. Also, so I'm a co-founder with Melody Joy Short, but we have an amazing team. So Tony Jordan, Sion Neely, Sarah, you know, works with us on our social media. So shout out to you all if you all are tuning in. Yes. And also Tisha, our volunteer manager. So the team is expanding. And hopefully we'll get into that a little bit later. Just life is different now, and so Melody and I both knew we really had to create a team, you know, when you're managing some of your passion projects. The other big one is the Flourish Society, and so it's near to my heart. My sister and I started that.
Okay.
And really for women who, you know, come to that place in life and you're enjoying it and it's going well, but you may not be where you feel like you should be, right? Maybe you've spent a life living in expectation of others, and may not have really settled into who you feel like you should be and how you should show up. And so it's a lot of more of the kind of inner work, soul care, self-care.
That's good.
You know, how do we really, really take care of ourselves? I think as women, we carry a lot.
Right.
And sometimes we feel like we're just naturally supposed to, so we don't really take the time to kind of assess it and sit with it and see what it is. And so so this year is amazing. We're doing some self-care sessions, meeting up, partnering up with Meet at Canvas over on Southside. So we're doing those, and each year, normally it's New Year's Eve, but we'll have like a big, just like a big event where we may open with yoga or something of the sort, have some speakers to come in and just do some kind of level setting as you prepare for the next year. So those are my two big things. I started a lot of other things too, Chelsi, but I'll tell you, last year I went through this process. Okay, I can do a lot, but what do I need to be doing? So I kind of leaned out a bit more.
That's good.
You know, Peter Paul keeps me busy. You know, I mean, it's 8 to 5, but it's also 5 to 8. You know, with the kind of work that I'm doing, and so just wanted to make sure that I'm fully present and available with anything I'm committed to. And then I just kind of have some personal, just life's work projects that I'm trying to go into that season too. And so just making room for everything.
So 2 major passion projects, full-time at Peter Paul, impacting the community. How do you balance it all? And then maybe the question before that is, young women who are like you, Adrienne, they have a full-time job, passion projects. How do you do it and with the support of your full-time gig?
Wow. That's major. Because it's not by chance, right? The decision, and I'll be very specific, and shout out to my Peter Paul family if they're watching, but I was very intentional about where I decided to go to full-time. So when I left DC and came back to Richmond, from my time of working on the Hill and working at Peter Paul, I had not worked full-time. So that was about an 8-year stint that I was like grinding out with my business, doing what I needed to do there, maybe a cool part-time job here and there, but I really had to create space to kind of create that flexibility. But I knew that Peter Paul was a place that they honored the work that I had already done. I had already started the Artisan Cafe. I mean, I had a store when I started at Peter Paul. But they saw the value in what I was doing in the community in more of a social entrepreneurship way, and knew that that could be leveraged because I did have my MSW in social work, and I did have a commitment to the community that showed up in different ways. So that was a blessing because I know that's not everyone's story. So I would say, as you're making decisions for your path, be mindful about where you land and make sure that it's a place that's respectful of your interest and your passion, and that they're able to see all of you. You know, can you bring all of yourself, you know, to the table?
That's good.
it's not easy, but it's worth it, is what I would say too. So I think a lot of times we'll talk about, my cousin and I often talk about the sexiness of being a business owner and, you know, working from home and going to these cool events. But they don't see the early mornings.
That's right.
And the late nights and the sacrifices. It's a lot of sacrifice, you know. Financial sacrifices. You know, so you're an entrepreneur, so your investment may be into your equipment, into your setup, right?
That's right.
It may not be into the latest shoes and clothes that you may want, but you have to prioritize, you know. There's also a time sacrifice too often.
That's right.
So you may sacrifice a Friday evening or a Saturday evening to get work done, you know. And so for me, I always knew it was worth it. My mission in life is to fulfill my God-given purpose. Anything that happens in between then should feed into that.
That's good.
And so it's been a process of getting there, and that, what do they call it, the fear of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
But me knowing that helps ground me, you know. And so I say that to people. Be ready to work hard for yourself, as hard as you will work for anyone else, any other company or corporation or boss that you admire, and kind of pour into yourself enough to give yourself that love. And I think the only other thing, I love speaking to younger women about it, is just embracing your own unique journey. You know,
that's good.
I was raised, you know, in a wonderful household, but I think in most homes, things are very linear. You know, you grow up, you decide on a career path, and that's what you do. Mm-hmm. Your parents want you to have a great life. They want you to be independent and take care of yourself. And I've been able to do all of those things, but it has not been linear. And so I had to own that I am not a linear person. I'm layered, you know, I'm colorful.
I like that.
But I had to embrace it and get comfortable with it, because most of the world isn't comfortable with that, right? But the more I got comfortable with it, and I'm able to communicate that out, people can feel that from me and know that's how I thrive best, you know. So, you know, not to mention I have a husband who's super supportive. So he knows at night I might be in bed on the computer. And he's like, go for it. He's a big cheerleader of mine, coach, cheerleader. My daughter's the same way, you know. And so just once you know who you are, you can create a tribe of people around you who can support you to get into that point.
So many amazing nuggets. One of the things that you touched on, Adrienne, was earlier was that you and Melody, so you all have been business partners for years now, yet you realized that you needed a team. Tell us what that moment was when you realized that it had to be more than you two and your best practices for building a team. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Chats with Chelsi. Didn't you learn a few things? I know I did. I'm so grateful that Adrienne joined us, and she'll be back next week to answer that question that we left on. How do you know when it's time to build a team, to have a team supporting you and your passions? So she'll answer that question next week, and I'm excited to share a new initiative, a new passion that she's pursuing here in Richmond, Virginia, that's a national initiative. It's called Build Together. It's a national giving collective initiative that is focused on people and projects in the Black urban centers. This is national, y'all, so get ready. It launches this fall. It'll be based here in Richmond, but you can learn more about it by following Adrienne. And so let's support her and congratulate her on continuing to fulfill her passions. Lastly, as you know, this month is our second annual Mother-to-Be celebration. So if you haven't already, just head over to Life with Chelsi. You can still donate cash, shop our Amazon registry, or if you're in the area, we can schedule a pickup. We are able to honor these expectant mamas in need who need a little extra support because of your giving. Thanks so much, and be sure you share this episode with a girlfriend. Have a great week.